Good afternoon, my name is Leslie Termishuizen, and today we're going to chat about starting a new aquaponics system. This is an area where a lot of people seem to struggle, and so I would like to give you my advice in terms of the way in which we start aquaponics systems, but let it also be said that there are other people who have different ways of doing it. The method that we use has been used on numerous occasions on commercial scale as well as small scale systems, and we have never yet lost a single fish, and I believe it is the fastest way to get to market size, to mature your system and to get to marketing the first of your crops. The way I recommend you proceed is to start by designing and erecting your system. During the design phase, ensure that you have the correct ratios between your various components. If it's a deep water culture system, if it's an ebb and flow system, it may even be nutrient film, whichever method. You may even be going for a hybrid system. That doesn't matter so much. Just make sure you've got your ratios right. The next thing is fill the system with water and run the pumps. Once the pumps are running and the system is full of water, you can then switch on the heating or the cooling system to get the temperature to the right level for the plants and fish that you will be farming. The next thing to do is to stock the fish tanks and to plant the beds or the rafts. When stocking the fish tanks, I recommend you get different sized fish and that each of the tanks has different sized fish in it. There are numerous advantages to this. I'm not going to go into all of them, but the obvious one is that you get to market size in a staggered fashion rather than all your fish at the same time. It also means that when you've harvested the fish for market, you've only harvested one tank of the fish, which means that the rest of the tank are still there to continue growing and reaching market size at a later stage, which means you've got a constant flow of nutrients going from the fish to the beds, irrespective of what's happening, which individual tanks have been harvested and restocked. Then in terms of planting the beds, I recommend you plant all the beds immediately as well. So now you've created a situation where you've got, let's call it a sterile aquaponics system. It's got fish in it, the water is flowing, and you've got plants planted. From the fish's perspective, the risk is that they excrete ammonia. Ammonia is toxic to the fish, so we've got to have a way of getting rid of this ammonia, and the benefit of aquaponics is that the ammonia is converted by bacteria living in the grow beds or in the biofilter from ammonia to nitrite and from nitrite to nitrate. Nitrate is fairly benign, and therefore we can carry on cycling that water backwards and forwards from the fish to the filters without interruption and without fear of poisoning the fish. The magic of aquaponics, though, is that the plants require nitrate as their primary form of fertilizer, especially leafy greens and fruiting crops during their early growth stages where they're growing vegetatively. So what we need to do is we need to provide a form of nutrients because there isn't enough nutrient coming from the fish initially. So we add sea grow. Sea grow is a product which we use in South Africa. There are other products in other parts of the world. Essentially what you're doing is you're adding a broad spectrum of nutrients from a natural source. In this case, fish emulsion. It's a brilliant fertilizer to get your plants growing. And we use sea grow at a rate of 1.5 milliliters per cubic meter of system volume per day. I'll come back to how you make sure you don't overdose. On the fish's side, we've still got the issue with the ammonia. So on a daily basis, we monitor our ammonia and our nitrite levels. If either of these levels exceeds 0.5 milligrams per liter, then we dose with pond treatment. Pond treatment is one of many commercially available products which contain a very concentrated mix of biofilter bacteria. They are not actually the same bacteria that will settle in the biofilter. These are pelagic. They remain in the water column, but they convert the ammonia to nitrite and the nitrite to nitrate during the time when the bacterial colony in the biofilter is developing, or if you're using an ebb and flow system while the bacteria in the grow beds are maturing. In terms of the amount of pond treatment to use, we use 0.5 milliliter of pond treatment per 10 cubes of water in the system per day. The third variable to measure on a daily basis is the pH. The pH in a new system tends to be stable, and it tends to be a little bit high, usually in the 7s. As the system matures, you'll find that the pH starts dropping. The important thing is that pH should never go below 6.5. So we measure the pH on a daily basis, and as soon as it goes below 6.5, we buffer. More on this in the water quality chapter. But the important thing is to make sure that the pH doesn't go too low for the plants and especially for the fish. Then on a weekly basis, we monitor the nitrate levels. Weekly is adequate. You don't need to do it more frequently than that. As soon as the nitrate levels exceed 50 milligrams per liter, you no longer need to add any seed grow to your system. You now have a system where the bacteria in the grow beds or in the biofilter are converting that ammonia into nitrite and nitrite into nitrate, and the nitrate is then available for your plants. I hope that you have found this video useful. As I started off by saying, this is my way of doing it. It works. We've done it many times on commercial and hobbyist systems, and I believe it's the best system because it's the one that gets you to marketing your crops the fastest and gets you to the stage of having a mature system the quickest. All the best and happy aquaponicsing.